I am going to go crazy trying to just talk about Final Fantasy XVI because this is perhaps the most hyped I've ever been for any game ever. Okay, so I'm completely obsessed with Final Fantasy and Resident Evil, and the fact that yesterday we got huge trailers for a new Resident Evil and a new freaking Final Fantasy, it is a great time to be eating good. But I want to take a look at a lot of the specific technical details that were shown off yesterday during the Dominance trailer reveal, because we now have, in my opinion, a very detailed look as to what Final Fantasy XVI is going to look like, what it is going to play like, and what this world actually is. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Now, if you could do me a big favor, like this video if you enjoy it. I like talking Final Fantasy, and I hope you enjoy watching it. Now, please, if you could do me a big favor, keep dreaming, subscribe, and now let's dig into the craziness. Okay, so now let's start things off with just this quick look at a post over at the PlayStation blog. Sony dropped this shortly after the State of Play yesterday, and what they said is this: new Final Fantasy XVI trailer revealed, launches on summer PlayStation 5 2023. So this is going to be a console exclusive to the PlayStation 5 and also on PC. The game visually is just a freaking masterpiece. Now, part of this actually is just a lot of apologies, a lot of very formal Japanese speak about what's going on, but I want to take a look at specifically this right here, which is the name of the guy who we're going to be playing as, Clive Rosfield. Now, this guy apparently is going to be able to do all sorts of different attacks. During this newest trailer, which Square Enix was nice enough to send to me here in glorious 4K, it's pretty apparent that Clive is an utter badass. He is able to flip, he is able to swap weapons, he is able to unleash utter carnage across these different armies that we're going to be fighting against. But why is it that we're fighting? So this trailer, as interesting as it was, part of what sort of draws my eye the most is that there seems to be a heavy focus on world war, this clash of kingdoms. There's a lot of talk about people needing to do their duties to the kingdom. And also, there's a lot of focus on summons themselves, which I want to take a look at here in a second. So let's start things off by taking a look. Here is the post itself. Introduction to the world of Dominance, Titan and Garuda. So in this world, I guess summon magic is called Dominance. Now, that's an interesting turn of phrase because it makes it sound like, well, summon magic, materia or otherwise, has always sort of been the pinnacle of magic in each of the Final Fantasy universes. It's always treated in a slightly different way. In Final Fantasy X, obviously, these summons are treated almost as friends. They're ancient guardians and gods. In Final Fantasy VIII, they're almost treated as this very costly mechanism used to try and stop wars. Whereas here, Dominance, I feel like it really implies the fact that, like, in this world, whoever has summons, they're like nuclear weapons. They are used as the pinnacle of an arsenal. Okay, so let's take a look at these new details they're revealing here in this blog post. We here on the Final Fantasy XVI team hope you enjoyed the trailer, and we wanted to give our fans a little bit more information about the dominance of Titan and Garuda that you just saw. Permanent Economic Advisor Hugo Kapka's meteoric rise to prominence was sudden, if not unexpected. Once a nameless foot soldier in the Republican Army, his awakening as dominant of the Eikon Titan thrust him to the foremost of the Damakian politics. So essentially what happens is, it sounds like this dude started off as just a random guy, the magic awakened, and now he is, well, Titan. He's the guy we keep seeing in the trailers who is the biggest, beefiest bro of all time. But going back here, he says, it was here that he used his newfound position as the most powerful man in the Republic to exert influence over both the nation's armies and its policy making, amassing a personal fortune in the process. Yet while it is said that a man who has everything wants nothing, Benica Harmon will teach him money and power are far from all the world has to offer. So it's interesting that already the trailer itself also talked about the fact that there seems to be this interesting tale at the center of Final Fantasy XVI, very much about the personal struggle of a person. And I really dig that. Now, I've beaten every Final Fantasy. I've done videos ranking the Final Fantasies. I've done over 100 playthroughs of Final Fantasy VII. It's my favorite game of all time. And let's face facts, the reason that Final Fantasy is so dang popular is because it is tiny stories blown up. It's tiny stories of a personal just journey. It's someone trying to figure themselves out. It's someone trying to help out their friends. It's someone stuck in an impossible situation doing what they think is right. It's interesting to me that this idea, this context, has now become the central focus of this next Final Fantasy as well. The idea of a soldier with ultimate power who just can't seem to do anything with it. Now let's take a look at this right here. Having emerged from the storm of youth, cold-hearted and ruthless, Benedicta Harmon, dominant of the Eikon Garuda, warden of the wind, turned her talent for swordplay and subterfuge into command of Waylaid's elite intelligencers. It's on a mission to find the elusive second icon of fire that she crosses paths with like-minded Clive and is forced to face her past. So she is able to summon the giant wind guardian Garuda. So it sounds like everybody in the main character cast is not only going to be their spiritual self, being the magical essence of what they can summon, they're also going to be a personal journey they're trying to figure out. Now here's this image that's been going around that was released directly by Square Enix themselves, and straight up, it is the perfect reason that you should be hyped for this game beyond all reason. Beyond all the talk, beyond the trailers, beyond the completely epic gameplay they've revealed, take a look at this. The producer is the guy that helped save Final Fantasy XIV Online and has theoretically made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for Square Enix. The main director is the guy that helped make Final Fantasy V, Saga Frontier, and The Last Remnant. The creative director and the original screenplay writer is the dude who wrote Final Fantasy XII. I'm losing my freaking mind right now, sorry. Localization director is the translator that did work for Final Fantasy XI Online, 14 Online, and Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus. The art director is the dude who did Final Fantasy XIV, Final Fantasy XII, and Final Fantasy Tactics. Holy freaking heck. Combat director is the dude who did the combat for Devil May Cry 5, Dragon's Dogma, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like, I'm losing my mind. This is a completely S tier. Every single one of these people is the best dude in the world at their job. Even this character designer, this is the dude who did the freaking characters for Final Fantasy X. Composer is Soken, which is the guy who has won so many awards for his music in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, this, it's just, every single person on here is the best of the best of the best of the best. There's no second guessing, there's no denying the fact that these people are ridiculously talented. Clearly, Square Enix knows this has to be done right. Square Enix knows this has to be the best thing ever. And in fact, I wanted to take a look at this. One of my buddies here, this is Night Sky Prince, personal friend of mine, very good Final Fantasy YouTuber. He's been hyped out of his freaking mind about Final Fantasy 16. He is already guessing the game is going to be open world because of the way they've decided to make it look, the way they're trying to market it. So Square Enix themselves actually sent me a bunch of 4K screenshots. Now, if you even try and zoom in on these things, it is seeming to imply the fact that this game is going to be not only practically photorealistic, it's going to just be gargantuan. Like, the detail in your weapon, the details of these buildings, it just seems like this is going to go on and on and on. God, this just evokes such a sense of Final Fantasy XII. I can't stand it. I'm so freaking excited. I'm so freaking happy. I do want to take a look at this real quick. One criticism I have seen people saying, everything about this game looks fantastic, but I have seen some people saying, now that we've seen the combat, they don't like these health bars. They think they're too big, they're too minimalistic. As it currently stands, I'm excited because it does look like this is going to have two separate combat systems, a summon combat system, and separately like a one-on-one combat system with the player Clive himself. But as it currently stands, even these big goofy health bars, I'm just too excited about it. This is exactly what I wanted from Final Fantasy. Hopefully we get a demo soon. Hopefully we get some sort of tasty teasers coming up. This is insane. But what do you think about it? I just wanted to talk a little bit off the cuff about Final Fantasy 16 because anything Final Fantasy, to me, is a very good time. You guys rock. I love you very much. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. I sometimes feel weird that I've been alive long enough to see Final Fantasy 1 through 16 and a billion spin-offs. I'm ancient. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.